There is a bar of soap under your grandmother's sink that outlasted 3 prime ministers, 2 recessions, and every cleaning product ever advertised on ITV. It still works, better than most of what replaced it ever did. In 1953, a terrace house was kept spotless on pennies, not because life was simpler, but because the methods were better. Number 14 kills bacteria more effectively than most supermarket sprays. Number 3 uses something you throw away every morning without thinking. 14 habits, no chemicals, no subscriptions, just methods that worked. Let's count them down. Number 14, she cleaned from top to bottom, every time, without exception. Dust falls, Your Nan did not clean whatever caught her eye. She started at the top of the room, the picture rails, the tops of wardrobes, the light fittings, and worked steadily down to the skirting boards and the floor. By the time she reached the floor, everything above it was already done. The principle is not complicated. The discipline required to follow it is the entire point. A room cleaned top to bottom takes less time and gets cleaner in the process. In a busy household, the temptation is always to start with whatever looks most urgent. The floor that caught the eye, the worktop with yesterday's crumbs, the sink that needs clearing before anyone else sees it. She resisted that temptation every time, not out of rigidity, but out of experience. She had learned at some point early enough that she no longer remembered when, that cleaning from instinct rather than sequence means doing the same work twice. The floor she had just mopped collected the dust she shook from the curtain above it. The surface she had just wiped got the crumbs from the shelf she cleaned after it. She didn't call it a system, she called it how you do it. She had been shown at 8 years old, and she never cleaned a room in any other order for the rest of her life. Number 13, she used newspaper on the windows, not blue roll, not microfiber cloths with a specialist glass cleaner from a trigger spray bottle at £4.20. Newspaper, black ink and newsprint, screwed into a pad and used in small circular motions on the glass, worked across the glass, then buffed dry with a fresh sheet. The newsprint lifts grease without leaving lint or streaks behind. The paper buffs the surface to a genuine clarity that glass cleaners in bottles rarely match. A 1951 Women's Institute handbook on household management listed newspaper as the recommended material for window cleaning ahead of any commercial product then available. The reason was simple, it worked better. The cost of a newspaper in 1953 was 3 pence. The window got cleaned with the paper after it had been read, nothing bought for a single purpose. The same instinct that made her use the dripping from the Sunday joint for Monday's frying made her use Tuesday's newspaper for Wednesday's windows. She did not rinse the windows first with a spray from a bottle and then buff them dry with a separate cloth. She did not use 2 products where one would do. The newspaper was pad, abrasive, solvent, and buffer all in a single sheet. It cost nothing because it was already in the house. She would have found the concept of buying a separate glass cleaner, a separate cloth, and a separate buffing tool to achieve what a screwed-up page of the Daily Mirror achieved in 3 minutes to be not just wasteful, but faintly absurd. Modern glass cleaners cost between £3 and £5 a bottle. The newspaper costs nothing because you already bought it for something else. She knew that. She always knew that. Number 12, she put white vinegar in the rinse water. When the floor had been washed with hot water and a drop of washing up liquid, the final rinse was not plain water. It was water with a good splash of white vinegar added, enough to smell faintly of it but not enough to overpower the room. The vinegar did 2 things. It neutralized the alkaline residue left by the washing up liquid, which is the source of the dull, streaky film that appears on tiled and linoleum floors when they dry. And it left the floor fresher for longer, especially in kitchens and bathrooms. The result was a floor that dried clear, looked genuinely clean, and stayed fresher between washes than floors rinsed with plain water. This was not something she had read about. She had been shown it the same way she had been shown everything else, by watching and doing rather than by reading instructions off a label. The vinegar rinse had been in the household routine before she arrived in it. She passed it on without explanation because it required none. The floors dried without streaks. That was the explanation. White vinegar costs approximately 60 pence a litre. A litre lasts months at a splash per bucket. Flash floor cleaner costs £3.40 and still leaves the residue the vinegar removes. The vinegar rinse solves the problem the product causes. She didn't know the chemistry. She knew the result. The floors dried clear, the floors smelled clean. That was the test. That was always the test. Number 11. She used diluted white vinegar on every hard surface. This is the one district nurses used. White vinegar diluted 1 part to 3 parts water in a spray bottle, or in her case, a damp cloth wrung in a bowl of the solution, cleaned every hard surface in the house. Worktops, tiles, the inside of the fridge, door handles, light switches. The chopping board after meat had been on it at that strength. White vinegar cleans the surface properly and leaves nothing behind. District nurses in post-war Britain used diluted vinegar solutions to clean surfaces in homes after infectious illness because they had observed it working and because it left no chemical residue that could be harmful to convalescing patients or young children. This was practical, observed knowledge, not theory. District nurses worked in homes across industrial England, Wales, and Scotland throughout the 1940s and 1950s, and they carried with them a set of cleaning and hygiene practices built on what they had seen work repeatedly in difficult conditions. Diluted white vinegar was among them. It was cheap enough to be available in any household, effective enough to matter, and safe enough to use around the sick and the very young. Those three requirements, met simultaneously, was a standard that most modern branded products cannot match. A bottle of Dettol antibacterial surface spray costs £3.50 and contains synthetic fragrance, preservatives, and a concentration of active ingredient no more effective than properly diluted white vinegar. The Dettol bottle produces chemical waste. The vinegar solution goes down the drain without any concern at all. She kept a bowl of it by the sink, wiped the surfaces every morning, never had a problem with the chopping board, never had a problem with the worktop. Number 10. She dealt with stains immediately, not when she got around to it, not after the program finished. The moment a stain landed, something was done about it. Cold water for blood and red wine. Never hot, heat sets protein-based stains permanently into fabric. Salt poured immediately onto a fresh wine spill and left for 5 minutes to draw the liquid out of the weave before blotting. Washing up liquid on grease, rubbed into the fabric from the outside edge inward before soaking. These are not tips. They are responses that depend entirely on timing. A fresh blood stain on cotton washes out with cold water in 3 minutes. The same stain left for an hour requires bicarbonate of soda, white vinegar, and patience. The same stain left overnight may never fully come out. She moved quickly because she understood the chemistry, not in those words, but in the knowledge that heat means permanent, cold means removable, and delay means difficult. This was not learned from a product label. It was passed on in the kitchen, watching a cloth go to the mark before the mark had time to become a problem. The cloth went to the mark before the mark had time to set. That was the principle. Everything else, the specific treatment for each type of stain, the cold water versus hot, the salt for wine, the washing up liquid for grease, was detail built on top of that single underlying principle. Move immediately, deal with it now. The stain that does not set is the stain that does not require a product. Modern stain removers exist entirely because people stopped moving immediately. The products are compensation for delayed action. She didn't delay. Number 9, she dried everything properly before putting it away. Pots dried on the rack until genuinely dry, not stacked while still damp. Wooden surfaces wiped and left open to air rather than covered while still wet. Glasses set right side up to drain rather than left face down on a damp cloth where condensation pools between the rim and the surface and breeds bacteria in the warmth. Damp is the enemy of a clean kitchen. It always was. A pot stacked wet inside another pot will smell by the following morning. A wooden board stored upright against a damp wall will begin to warp within days. A cloth folded wet and left on a surface will grow bacterial colonies within hours, not theoretically, not eventually, but within hours. She dried things because she understood that damp things rot. She did not have a word for the science. She had a clean kitchen and no mold on her wooden spoons. The modern equivalent is the kitchen roll left in a wet heap next to the sink. The damp dishcloth draped over the tap. The chopping board leaned against the wall while still wet. We have more products for cleaning than she ever owned, and more mold problems than she ever had. The two facts are connected. A kitchen managed by habit requires fewer interventions. A kitchen managed by product requires more, because the products address the consequences of the habits rather than replacing them. Number 8, she kept bicarbonate of soda for everything that smelled. The fridge, the bin, the drains, the carpet after a spill had dried, the inside of shoes, the corner of the bathroom where the air went stale. Bicarbonate of soda is a base. Odors are almost always acidic. When bicarbonate of soda meets an acidic smell compound, it neutralizes it chemically. The smell does not get masked with a stronger synthetic fragrance. It ceases to exist. This is the same principle the commercial products rely on. Febreze retails at around £5 for a standard bottle. The bicarbonate of soda performs the same neutralization without the propellant, the synthetic fragrance, the plastic bottle, or the £5. A 500-gram box of bicarbonate of soda costs around 60 pence. It treats every odor problem in the house for months. A small dish of it placed open in the fridge absorbs the compound smells of everything stored in it and keeps the air inside neutral. The same dish replaced weekly costs approximately 3 pence a week. A box of Arm & Hammer fridge freshener in a branded cardboard sleeve costs £2 and contains bicarbonate of soda in a slightly different shape. She kept it on the shelf between the washing soda and the white vinegar. 3 items, less than £2 combined. Everything the cleaning aisle of a modern supermarket sells as a separate product for each specific odor problem, covered for under £2. She didn't call it a cleaning kit, she called it the shelf. Number 7. She rubbed lemon on the wooden chopping board once a week. Half a lemon, cut face down, rubbed firmly across the surface of the wooden board, then left for 10 minutes before rinsing off and drying completely upright. The citric acid bleaches light surface stains, the grey marks left by onions and garlic, the discoloration from meat juices. It deodorizes the wood, removing the accumulated smell of everything that has been cut on it. And it inhibits the growth of bacteria on the surface in the same way that the vinegar solution does on hard surfaces elsewhere in the kitchen. After the lemon treatment, the board was rubbed with a drop of mineral oil and left to soak in overnight. The oil prevents the wood from drying, cracking, and developing the surface fissures that harbor bacteria. A wooden chopping board maintained this way lasts for decades. A wooden chopping board left to dry out and neglected cracks within a year. The bacteria that settle into those cracks cannot be reached by any surface cleaning method. She did not let it get that far. The lemon was almost always the squeezed half from something already used in cooking, nothing bought for a single purpose. It cleaned the board, it had already served its original function, and the whole business took 5 minutes once a week. Most modern kitchen hygiene advice stops at recommending plastic boards for safety, without acknowledging that the problem with wooden boards is not the wood, but the neglect. A maintained wooden board is not a hygiene problem. A neglected one is. Lemon weekly, oil monthly. That was the entire maintenance schedule. The same board served her kitchen for 30 years. Number 6, she used white vinegar on limescale and she never used anything else. Half a cup of white vinegar, warmed slightly, applied to a cloth and held against a limescale tap for 20 minutes. Or vinegar-soaked tissue paper packed around the base of a tap and left for an hour. Or a bowl of warmed vinegar with the shower head submerged in it overnight. The acetic acid dissolves calcium carbonate, the mineral compound that hard water deposits on taps, tiles, grout, and shower heads, at the molecular level. It does not scrub it off, it dissolves it. The deposits that look solid enough to require physical force simply dissolve away, and the surface beneath is left clean without any scratching or abrasion. The scratching matters. Most commercial limescale removers rely partly on chemical action and partly on abrasive particles to shift scale by force. The abrasion removes scale. It also removes the surface finish from chrome taps and polished tiles over time, leaving them dull, porous, and more prone to the next round of limescale buildup. White vinegar has no abrasive particles. It dissolves the scale without touching the surface it sits on. Research in the 1990s commissioned by a major cleaning company found that white vinegar did the same job as their proprietary limescale remover. They did not advertise that result. Sillet Bang Scale and Grime costs £3.80 a bottle. White vinegar costs 60 pence a litre. They do the same thing. One of them is transparent about what it is. One of them has a television advertisement. She didn't need the advertisement. She had the tap, the cloth, and the result. Number 5, she washed the walls. Not every week, but regularly. Twice a year in most households. More often in kitchens where cooking fat rises on the warm air and settles on every surface it reaches. A bucket of warm water with a small amount of washing soda dissolved in it. A cloth wrung almost dry. The walls washed in sections, top to bottom, rinsed with a clean cloth, wrung in plain water, dried as quickly as possible to prevent moisture sitting on painted surfaces. Washing soda, and sodium carbonate, not bicarbonate, is a stronger alkali than bicarbonate of soda. It cuts through grease and accumulated kitchen vapor that plain water and washing up liquid cannot shift. A bag costs under £1 and lasts a year. It has been available from hardware shops and grocers since before the First World War and has never needed replacing with anything more sophisticated because nothing more sophisticated has ever been required. The walls in her kitchen were not the color walls go in modern kitchens that are never washed. They were the color the paint was when it went on, the particular yellow-gray that accumulates on walls above cookers that fades the paint and makes a kitchen look old and tired, builds over months of not washing the walls. It washes off in an afternoon, one afternoon, twice a year, and the walls stay the color they were painted. Most people do not wash their walls. They repaint them instead, every few years. When the yellow-gray has built to a depth that makes them uncomfortable, a tin of emulsion costs £25. An afternoon of washing soda and a cloth costs under £1 and achieves the same result. She washed the walls, that is why the kitchen looked clean. Number 4, she kept her cloths clean, or she threw them away. The dirtiest thing in most kitchens is the dishcloth, not the worktop, not the chopping board. The dishcloth, used to wipe surfaces, then folded damp, then used again hours later when its bacterial load has multiplied significantly in the warm, wet environment it has been sitting in. A damp dishcloth left folded on a kitchen surface is one of the most effective bacterial incubators in the domestic environment. The warmth of the kitchen, the moisture in the cloth, and the organic material from whatever it last wiped, food residue, grease, the moisture from a just washed surface, create exactly the conditions bacteria require to double their population every 20 minutes. By the time the cloth is picked up again 4 hours later, it contains significantly more bacteria than it did when it was put down. She did not leave cloths folded and damp. She rinsed them after every use and hung them somewhere they could dry fully between uses. She kept them clean because she understood, not in those words, not from a food science paper, that a cloth used once, not cleaned, and used again was not cleaning anything. It was redistributing. She boiled cloths once a week in a pot of water on the range, not in the washing machine on a hot cycle which was not available. In a pot of boiling water for 10 minutes, which kills what matters. The boiled cloth came out clean, smelling of nothing at all, and ready to be used again without reservation. Modern antibacterial kitchen cloths cost £3 for a pack. They claim to kill bacteria by virtue of being antibacterial. They do not claim to stop the bacteria growing back within hours when the cloth is left wet and folded. Her boiled cloth lasted weeks and was cleaner than any antibacterial cloth left damp on the side of a sink. Number 3. She opened the windows every morning before anything else. Before the breakfast was made, before the bed was stripped for airing, before the floors were swept, the windows went up and the house breathed. 10 minutes of air through the house every morning removes accumulated moisture from overnight breathing and sleeping, the primary source of condensation and mold on walls and ceilings. It removes the carbon dioxide that accumulates in closed sleeping spaces. It removes the cooking vapor and food smells from the previous evening that settle on surfaces and fabrics and become the base of that particular smell that distinguishes a house that is not aired from a house that is. The smell is the first thing. Every house has its own smell, built from everything that happens inside it, the cooking, the sleep, the damp from washing, the breath of the people who live there. In a house that is aired every morning, that smell is neutral, fresh, the smell of a house in contact with outside air. In a house that is never aired, it accumulates. It becomes the background note that visitors notice and residents stop smelling. The smell of sealed air, of warmth that has nowhere to go. She did not have an air purifier at £250 with a filter that needs replacing every 3 months at £40 a time. She had a window. She opened it. The house smelled clean because it was clean, because clean air had been moving through it every single morning since the day she moved in. The modern equivalent is a reed diffuser at £12 that fills the house with synthetic fragrance to cover the smell that opening a window for 10 minutes would have prevented. She would have recognized this as nonsense immediately. She would have been entirely correct. Number 2, she made the bed every morning and she aired it first. Not immediately on waking. The bed was thrown back, sheets and blankets folded down to expose the mattress, and left for a minimum of 20 minutes before being made. In warmer months, the window was open at the same time. A human body releases approximately 1 liter of moisture during a night's sleep. That moisture absorbs into the mattress, the sheets, and the pillows, and creates the warm, damp, slightly acidic environment that dust mites require in order to breed. Airing the bed for 20 minutes allows that moisture to evaporate before the sheets are pulled back up and trap it against the mattress for another 16 hours. A 2018 study by Kingston University found that an aired bed had significantly lower dust mite populations than a made bed left closed. No moisture, no dust mites. She had been achieving the same result every morning for decades. The 20 minutes cost nothing. They required no product, no specialist equipment, no subscription to a service that sends you a fortnightly delivery of anti-allergen spray in a recyclable bottle. They required only the habit of throwing the bed back when she got up and not making it until she had done something else for 20 minutes. The bed aired while the breakfast was made. The bed aired while the floors were swept. It was a habit that fitted inside the rest of the morning routine without adding a single extra step. She did not have a dust mite mattress cover at £45 or an anti-allergen washing powder at £3.80 a box. She had 20 minutes and an open window, and she used both. Number 1. She finished what she started before she started anything else. This is not a cleaning technique. It is the habit that makes all the other habits work. She did not start the washing up and leave 2 pans to soak while she went to do something else. She did not begin wiping the worktop and leave one corner to finish later. She did not strip the beds, put the sheets on to wash, and then forget to put them in the dryer until the following morning. She finished things. The half-finished task is the enemy of a clean house. A pan left to soak becomes a pan that will be there at tea time. A cloth left on the worktop becomes a cloth that dried in the wrong position and will smell by morning. A window left half cleaned catches every pair of eyes and every shaft of afternoon light and announces itself as unfinished. Modern productivity culture has a name for this now. It calls it open loops, cognitive load, decision fatigue, the mental energy cost of unfinished tasks sitting in your awareness and demanding resolution. It sells systems, planners, and apps for managing the problem. She did not have a system, she had the habit of finishing. Everything got finished before the next thing began. The kitchen was clean by 8 o'clock because she had started it at 7 and not stopped until it was done. The front step was clean by 9 because she had started it at 8 and not stopped until it was done. There was no accumulation of half-finished tasks across the day, no moment at 6:30 when the unfinished morning jobs confronted her alongside the evening ones. The morning was finished before the afternoon began. The afternoon was finished before the evening began. Each part of the day handed over to the next one clean. She called it doing it properly. In a house with no dishwasher, no robot vacuum, no steam mop, and no antibacterial spray for every surface. A house cleaned with hot water, white vinegar, a lemon, and a cloth. Doing it properly was the only method that worked. It still is. Nothing improved on it. 14 habits. All of them cost almost nothing. All of them work better than what replaced them. Not one requires a subscription, a loyalty card, or a plastic bottle with a trigger. Nothing here is complicated. None of it is new. It's just what happens when someone pays attention to what works and keeps doing it. That's the part that was lost. Try one this week. Start at the top and work down. Put vinegar in the rinse water. Open the windows first. You don't need all 14, you need one that sticks. She didn't call it a perfectly clean house. She called it keeping on top of things, and in practice that was the same thing.